Welcome to the Real Men Cry podcast, a podcast dedicated to Christian men who struggle with depression, anxiety, and suicide. My name is Desmond Dangerfield, and on today's topic, we're going to talk about toxic relationships. Toxic relationships. I want you to raise all 6 of your hands of how many toxic relationships you have been in. Of course, I'm going to give a beautiful example of the one I went through. It was just too much. It was too much. But I'm going to give a backstory of why I allowed it to be toxic. You have to keep in mind, guys, that every relationship that I was in high school didn't really speak into the place of love. It spoke to the place of, I'm just doing this because I don't want to be at home. I don't want to deal with what I'm going through. And I really don't know what love is, but I'm going to act like, this is something real, just so it can take my focus off of what I really don't even love in my own life. And that was the base of my relationship. So when I got to college, I tried this thing called love out. But how can I try something out that I know not of? What is love? Is love or relationships a place of, I want you to love me, or am I getting into this relationship because I want to love you? So is love just a feeling that you receive from somebody, or is it an action that you take every day to get closer to an individual, to feel something that, God initially created for a good reason? And I had that all twisted up. I dated a girl named Christina. I'm gonna go off the back of it and just say, yeah, I cheated in my relationship. If you go on the other episodes, you'll see the reasons why. Don't judge me. I've been delivered. But I was in this relationship because at the end of the day, I saw everybody else getting into these relationships. And one thing that I did that was so stupid was I saw the false form of the relationships that I saw people getting into, meaning I saw that they were getting into the relationship thinking that it would heal them from other things. So I got into a relationship with this girl because the trauma, hurt, depression, and anxiety and all of this stuff that I didn't even know I had, I thought she was going to be the remedy for my happiness that I wanted so much. So we started talking. I actually moved. I dropped out of college for this girl, because she was giving me a false sense of happiness that I thought was real. Meaning I was looking inside of her for something that was never there. And what I was looking for was a remedy, like make me happy. And so in some way she did, in a sense. I dropped out of college, moved back to Dallas. You should have seen the look on my mom's face when I literally came in the middle of the semester and was like, oh, I'm back. And I made up some lie of, I want to go to UTA. I don't want to go to UTA. I just wanted to be around her because I was following my false remedy, which was her. And I struggled with jobs. I was, going door-to-door AT&T sales. I hope I get a sponsorship. I was doing door-to-door AT&T sales. I worked at Tel Vista. I worked at Verizon Fios. I worked at Crew Cuts. I worked all these jobs just to maintain being Desmond in Dallas, being in a relationship that I was actually cheating on her in because I didn't. That was a whole nother portion I had to get delivered from because things weren't going the way I wanted it to go because I found out that the remedy wasn't working. And so now everything that was inside of her that had not been fully matured became a threat to my life. So while I'm looking for a remedy inside of you, you're looking inside of me for validation. And when I say validation, she was looking inside of me for something to hold on to get away from her own family. And so every time that I left somewhere, where you going? Because validation was leaving. Every time she did something, where you going? Because my false remedy is leaving. So we were glued to each other for the wrong reasons, the worst of the worst reasons. And what happened was we ended up wasting a year and a half of each other's time because we used each other to fix something inside of us that only God can help with. Now, in a sense, I didn't technically waste my time. I learned a lot of lessons. Yeah, you know how that works. I learned a lot of lessons, but what made it so toxic was the fact that I knew this stuff and I still let the relationship keep going. I knew this. Like after like 3 months, I knew like this isn't my wife. This isn't somebody I want to end up with for the long run. But I can't leave because I get this good feeling of you fake fixing something inside of me. And that's why I stayed. And so what happened was I had to pray to God, and this was during the time I really found, in a sense, found God. Started praying more. It was like 2015, January, February. I told her I was going back to Prairie View for school, and she crying everywhere and stuff like that. We could do long distance. It's fine. All of this stuff, and I prayed. And I was like, "Yeah, man, I can't break away from this because there's something inside of her that I've gotten attached to that's giving me a false remedy. It's giving me a false cure. It's like this vaccine that is not working. It's not working, but I've gotten used to it, and I've made it a habit to contact her to fill the void of stuff I needed to work on outside of her that she cannot help me with. And so one day I woke up in the morning, my homegirl called me. She was like, "Hey, you got to break up with Christina." And it was like a grace that fell from heaven, and bing, I can't do this no more. Like, I want to break up with you. And I promise you, it was very liberating for me because I made a decision to finally enter into a place of singleness so I could work on myself. And it was pretty nice, but we're not gonna talk about the other like 2, 3 more toxic relationships I went through because I still didn't learn my lesson because I'm hard headed. But if I would have, if I would have allowed Jesus to come in and really be Lord, a lot of issues inside of me would have been fixed, through life instead of just, let me hop into a relationship because I feel like this girl is gonna give a false, she's gonna give me a healing. Like let me get inside this relationship because this little puppy dog feeling that's gonna fix stuff, but it's only masking things that are initially gonna spell out later on. And I learned my lesson. And initially I did tell her, like what was going on in the relationship. She told me, why she did the things that she did, and everything is fine. But what I did learn was stop trying to. Stop trying to look for a fixing, look for a healing, look for a vaccine for your unhappiness through a relationship because it's not going to work. If anything, it's going to actually make stuff way worse inside of you because now if it doesn't work out, you're going to resent every other relationship. You're going to have certain fears walking into other relationships, and it's not going to work also because you're going to expect every other girl after her to be the same way because you didn't get help for yourself. That concludes our episode. You guys have a nice day.